Welcome, Wabam crew, new listeners, guys, gals, ghouls, friends, fiends, foes, anyone who's listening out there beyond the omniverse tonight. Secure your tinfoil hats, buckle down tight, and hold on loosely as we soar over the rocky tops of the La Platas on a rocky mountain high, get sucked into the vortex of the Four Corners, and settle down snugly at mile marker 420 in colorful Colorado. It is Sunday, July 30th, Monday, July 31st, for those of you across the pond and beyond. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to you, and welcome to We Are Paradox Media's Late Night in the Rockies. I'm your host, TessaTNT, and we are broadcasting live from the Mile High Clubhouse tonight. If you're listening live right now, you may be listening to us on KPNL Radio, which you can find at KPNL Radio at kpnl-db.com. You may also find us on eTalk Radio, which you can find at etalk.tv/radio. We're also live right now on Facebook, as well as Twitch and YouTube. If you want to find us in your free time, whether you're working it or working out, look us up under We Are Paradox Media at Spreaker, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, iTunes, iHeartRadio, CastBox, Tumblr, SoundCloud, TuneIn Radio, Deezer, Podcast Addict, Podcast Chaser, Podvine, basically anywhere you'd like to listen. Just recently I saw we're on Podbean, owltail.com, GeoSarn, and VLC. Pretty interesting, and being looked up and downloaded in so many different places. It's amazing how many different people and places, countries are listening or watching. Pretty awesome for sure. But yeah, that's just what I saw on Spreaker. So tonight I have a treat for all my guys and gals out there. I know, Robert, last night was crazy. Every time I mentioned that case, I got kicked off, and then I was able to log back in a couple times, but then the internet totally kicked me out. Like, I could not get in. It was so weird. I don't know. I think there's something with that missing persons case. I think there's a bit of dark magic going on or something, some sort of shenanigans. But thank you, Robert, so much for closing out the show for me. I really appreciate it. Fingers, toes, hairs, eyes crossed. It all goes good tonight. Eek. All right, so tonight we are doing story time with me, TessaTNT. Of course, we have Zebul, the world's 100 greatest mysteries, strange secrets of the past revealed. This is by Randall Floyd. Before we do that, we're actually going to watch some videos together. What do you think? So I'm obsessed with this whole, Grand Canyon thing, etc. So that's one of the videos. But one that I have pulled up here, let me do the whole share screen thing. Okay, share screen. All right. Here we go. So this is a scary compilation, and this has been pretty good. I actually sent myself another video from these guys, and I don't know. The next one from them is pretty short, so we might divert from that and go with the Grand Canyon thing because, like I said, I'm obsessed.
The following video comes from a local news station in Peru that caught something pretty creepy on camera. The station had featured a news report showing footage of a small town struck by severe weather. Residents of this town were left devastated by this natural disaster, but many of them were left totally creeped out after watching this broadcast. Apparently, something strange was captured. The segment in question starts off with footage of a school playground that appears to be completely devoid of any children.
Ni los juegos infantiles se salvaron de la furia de la naturaleza. Los columpios, sube y baja, quedaron flotando en el agua emposada.
Now the reporter makes it clear that the site has been abandoned as heavy rains have flooded the area. The segment then shows more footage of other sites that have also been left behind, but one clip in particular has left many viewers feeling a bit weird. In fact, they were left feeling beyond spooked upon noticing something strange in the recording. The news reporter is visiting a section of the town known as Santo Domingo when out of nowhere, this happens.
Desde el asentamiento humano Santo Domingo, Comité 6, mira la escalera, ¿cómo podría bajar aquí una persona, un anciano? Los niños, ¿cómo podrían bajar?
As the camera pans over to the base of the stairs, a strange figure can be seen. It's hard to make out what exactly is being seen here, but it's clear that someone or something is there. This mysterious figure moves in such a way as though struggling to get a grip on the staircase.
To me, it doesn't look like he's struggling to get on the staircase. To me, it looks like he's caught, he's trying to hide, and she doesn't even notice him.
Residents of the town no doubt believe that this may have been the ghost of a victim who was claimed by this natural disaster, but it's still a mystery as to who or even what this might have been. Now, it's worth noting that the reporter didn't notice the figure while filming, which has led viewers to believe that something supernatural was captured. But as always, you be the judge. Did something paranormal appear? Or was something else captured? There's a store in Brazil that is well known for selling electronics and other consumer products for low prices. But aside from being known for its competitive deals, the store is known for being haunted. Now, even though there's been a couple of stories from employees who've seen strange things at work, only one video has caught footage of something pretty baffling. The video starts off with employees of the store looking over at security footage from last night. But as they continue to watch, something happens that spooks them out of their minds. Take a look.
Tá aqui, pô, tá não. Não, lá vem, ó. Tá vendo? Lá no cantinho, ó. Tá no cantinho, ó. Aí, ó. Tá vendo?
Jesus da glória é uma pessoa com manto.
Olha aí, tá flutuando agora, tá flutuando.
Why not?
Ele não tem pé não, ó.
Foi. Mas não vem aqui não, tá doido?
Meu Deus do céu. Cara, ele é muito grande, bicho.
Ele vai sumir ali, ele vai sumir, ó. Atenção. Ó, sombra. Né?
A mysterious figure appears out of nowhere and makes its way across the store. It appears to be cloaked in a white garment, as it seemingly floats above ground. According to one of the workers, it doesn't appear to have feet, which viewers believe is enough evidence to prove this as being supernatural. Given its oddly stiff composure, viewers are further convinced that this was something otherworldly. So then, was a ghost caught on camera, or had something else appeared on tape? On March 23rd of 2023, somewhere in Oregon, a motorcyclist was recording footage of an off-road trail when something completely unexpected had occurred. This motorcyclist, whose name is Eden, has been here before, but for some reason, he seems uneasy this time around. He can't shake the feeling that something is very different about this path. Now, it wasn't until traveling further up that something pretty creepy was captured. Take a look.
I would have turned around right there.
That's kind of creepy.
Yeah. I'm good.
Oh, this way. This is where most people would turn around. If you turn around, you never get to see what's on the other side. That's where all the gold is waiting over there.
There's booty
Could
ahead.
be missing out what's on the other side.
It's not a bobcat. I think it's Bigfoot. It's not a bobcat. It's actually something else.
The sound of someone or something approaching Eden can be heard close by, although it could be that a bobcat was heading towards Eden, as the pile of animal bones seemed to suggest that this was its lair. He couldn't help but think that something else was nearby. Fearing for his safety, he promptly turns around and heads home. Now, it wasn't until months later that Eden had returned to the spot, but unlike before, something happens that terrifies him to his core. Watch.
Isn't that beautiful?
Oh god, the bones are still here. I don't like this at all. Oh god, there's more bones than last time. It's been a few months since I filmed the last video, because honestly I've just been too scared to come up here. Definitely a lot more overgrown than last time. I'm hoping that since it's been such a long time that I don't think anything will happen this time. I think that tree is actually gone. This road's been cleared. Looks like we've already passed it a while ago, but that tree is gone. Oh! It's just dark as hell in here. I'm probably gonna turn around soon. Oh, there's two ways. Holy crap.
Damn you, CenturyLink. All right, let's go back to screen share. Sorry, guys. She's Pete, and the internet still works on my phone, and then this happens. All right, going to share the screen again. Let's go back. Let's go back. Back in time. Going back in time.
Daughter dates at their favorite baseball stadium, to shopping at the fancy mall in town on a very low budget. Erica can't imagine a world without her mother. But unfortunately, one day, something pretty devastating had occurred. Erica's mom was diagnosed with a terminal illness. According to the doctor, her days were numbered. Her life is expected to end soon. Over time, the mother-daughter dates had become less frequent before eventually stopping completely. Erica's mom was too sick to go out. Understandably, seeing her mom like this was too much for Erica.
Hey, good morning. I had a really bad week.
I'm sorry.
Now, as time went on, Erica noticed that her mom has been acting slightly off. She's been saying and seeing things that don't make sense. One day, she grabs her phone to record this strange, common occurrence, but unlike previous incidents, this one has left her speechless. Look.
See what you see.
Angels.
And where are they at?
The ceiling.
The ceiling? I don't see anything,
She's
Mom.
so happy.
I don't see anything. You see them?
I think there's like 3 or 4.
I don't see anything. Are they making you happy?
Yes.
Yeah? Well, that's good. How many?
4. 4. 4.
4? 4? Um,
Erica's mom seems to be seeing something on the ceiling. She believes that her mother had actually seen something, angels in this case, as she was expected to pass away soon.
It's funny how that happens. Like, not only are angels seen, but a lot of times old friends that have passed before you or family will come for you.
Viewers can't help but think the same, as they too have witnessed loved ones say the same thing before dying. According to them, some people will see a deceased relative or friend whose purpose is to make them feel comfortable before crossing over to the other side. Now, whether or not that's true is up to you to decide, but knowing this brings Erica comfort, as her mother had recently passed away. Watching this video reassures her that somewhere beyond this realm, her mother is in good hands. But as always, what do you think? Like all videos, you be the judge on whether or not something was present during this recording.
I think it was.
It's late at night when a man who's by himself enters an abandoned house. He walks carefully around the place as though acting with caution. This house, according to him, has a very strange history. Now, the district where the house is located has prohibited anyone from entering the place, and for good reason. There's something about this house that isn't right. Neighbors say that an old man used to live here before eventually passing away from old age. What's strange about this, though, is that nobody else was living with him. This giant building with lots of rooms and cryptic artifacts belonged to one single man who lived all alone. But strangest of all are the events that took place after his passing. Nearby residents have seen shadowy figures standing near the windows of the second floor and the sound of children laughing during the nighttime. Knowing this, the man treads carefully as he expects someone or something to appear. He walks around when only moments later this happens.
A grudge. Is there like little spirit houses or something? Ooh. Well, that ain't right.
Out of nowhere, a small golden statue seemingly falls over. The man pauses for a moment as he tries to understand how this happened. He looks around the space for anything that could possibly explain this, but finds nothing. Somehow, the statue fell on its own. Although pretty creepy, it's what happens next that leaves them shaken up. He continues to explore the house by heading upstairs.
Right?
He sets up a second camera to record the entire floor from a different point of view when this is captured. In just a couple of frames, a small silhouette can be seen standing against the wall. It wasn't until later that the man had noticed this, but had he seen this during his tour stairs, viewers no doubt believe he would have hightailed out of there. Whatever this might have been definitely spooked him after watching the footage, but it's what happens next that forces him to leave at once. The man explores the second floor when he finds a couple of rooms that are mysteriously locked. Something about this does not seem right. This is what he caught.
No more locked doors. No. What happened? Don't go in there. Don't do it. No. Ew. That is just weird. Why is that chair there? And somebody's sitting there staring at the clock. What the heck? Just went back and forth forever. Oh my gosh. What do you want to go in there? Finally. Red Ray! Oh, did you see that?
As if seeing the door open on its own wasn't creepy enough, this happens. The door immediately closes as soon as the man walks in, as though someone had slammed it shut. The man quickly rushes over to the door, but realizes that it's locked. But then somehow, the door suddenly becomes unlocked, at which point he bolts out of there. He runs out as quickly as possible, but fails to record the rest, as the camera had stopped recording. However, it's right before then that something downright chilling was captured. As the camera pans over to the room that he just came out of, a dark figure can be seen inside. It seemingly stands there, as though observing the man run away. Knowing that whatever this was most likely with him inside the room, has left him extremely unsettled. Not much else is known about what happened later, but it seems pretty clear that this man won't be coming back anytime soon. So then, just what exactly had occurred that night? Until more footage is posted, this mysterious incident remains unsolved. For more info on this story, you can check out the YouTube channel Fourth Wall, where the full video can be found. On October 25th of 2022, a paramedic posted a video of something freaky that occurred during his lunch break. The video is pretty short, so not much happens, but it's a certain detail caught in this footage that makes it quite disturbing. The video begins with the paramedic filming inside a hospital where a couple of surgeons are getting ready to transfer a very sick patient to a different wing. The paramedic walks out of the hospital to record them coming through. It isn't until later that the doctors arrive for the sick patient, who according to them passed away only hours later. The paramedic then stops recording. Now, it was only after finishing work that the paramedic had watched this video and noticed something strange about it. Looking back at the footage, they noticed that during the time they were waiting outside for the doctors to arrive, something unusual was caught in the background. Take a look. If you look closely at the hallway inside the hospital, a dark, shadow-like figure can be seen standing at the end of the hall. It's there for just a few seconds before suddenly disappearing from sight. The paramedic has no idea as to who or even what this might have been, but judging by its appearance, viewers believe that an entity of some sort was seen. They further add that this entity might have been death itself, considering that the patient in this video passed away that same day. Yet it's still not sure as to what was captured. One thing that's certain is that whoever or whatever this was didn't seem to belong in this hospital. It remains unknown as to who or what was caught on camera. If you caught something creepy on camera, or if there's any ghost videos you'd like me to check out and include in the next compilation, you can send them over to scaryvideos444@gmail.com. That being said, let's get back to the video.
Let's do number 2.
As with most videos involving baby monitors that capture something unexplainable on camera, this next one shows something highly unusual. Joanna Pascoe posted the following video after noticing something peculiar inside her daughter's bedroom. Her daughter, named Evelyn, is Joanna's first child who was fortunately born without birth defects. Before Evelyn, she was pregnant twice, but tragically, she had lost both pregnancies from having 2 miscarriages. Ever since experiencing this traumatic event, Joanna has been very caring towards Evelyn. She would constantly look over at the baby monitor to see what she was up to. But one day, she had looked over and saw the strangest thing. While checking on Evelyn, she sees this.
Okay. That's not possible. What
Teddy.
is that? What is that? What is it? Look at the way it looks.
Babies.
It's lingering. Is it the light outside? Like, there's no pinhole. Empty. Like, the curtains. I pulled the curtains closed.
I think it's one of the babies she miscarried.
And it's not
her
leaving.
sibling.
It's getting near her.
And then she's like, hi.
Oh my god. Did she just touch it?
Yeah.
Where did it go?
A small ball of light can be seen floating around Evelyn's crib. It seems to follow wherever she goes and doesn't seem to go anywhere else beyond the crib. Even stranger is that Evelyn appears to see the ball of light and even chase it. It's as though whatever this is interacting with Joanna's daughter. Among many
She's not
things,
upset at all.
viewers believe this may have been one of the spirits of Joanna's unborn children playing with Evelyn. Others think this might have been a guardian angel or an entity of some kind. Regardless of what this might have been, Joanna feels comforted by this mysterious presence. To her, it's as though something else is looking over Evelyn. Given how much she cares for her daughter, she doesn't mind having something else look after her child.
Number 1.
This next video was recorded by two friends who caught something very strange while taking a walk through a secluded forest. Both friends were shooting a video for a small project, but little did they know that the spot they were shooting at had a chilling history. The story goes that a few years ago, a boyfriend and girlfriend were camping somewhere deep inside this forest where nobody could see them. The reason for choosing this spot was so that no one would catch them doing drugs. But this was a bad idea. Within just a few hours of taking a hard substance, the boyfriend suddenly falls to the ground and begins to convulse. He had taken too much and eventually passed away. Immediately, the girlfriend began to scream for help, but nobody came. Now sadly, she too had passed away, but her cause of death remains unknown. It wasn't until much later that the police arrived and found their bodies. Ever since then, the forest has been said to be haunted by the spirit of the couple. Although some believe this, the following footage has left many wondering if something haunts this place. The two friends are walking alone inside this forest when this is captured.
What if ice cream just scared the demons? They would mimic your scream. That never scared me anyway. Maybe it's just a bunch of kids trying to summon demons. That the forest we're in.
I talk about my kids like that. My gosh.
Upon listening closely, the sound of faint screams can be heard coming from the forest. The two girls initially shrug it off as they think it might be some kids playing around in the woods. But as they continue to listen, they begin to realize that the screams are getting louder and more frequent.
The more you listen, the less scary it sounds. The more I listen, the more scary it sounds.
Jeez.
Oh, you gotta yeah.
So sad.
The screams seem to be coming from someone who needs help. However, the source of the screams can't be found. Given the history of this place, which is said to be haunted, the two girls quickly fled in a panic. It's unknown as to who was screaming, but many viewers think that calling the police would have been the right thing to do, as it could be that someone was crying for help. While some believe that this might have been the spirit of the girlfriend who passed away in this forest, others can't help but think that this was an actual person in need of help. If that's the case, then this video becomes a whole lot scary. Now, the girls eventually did call the police, but the rest of the story is unknown. So then, just what exactly was going on inside this forest? As with most videos whose original source is unknown, this one remains a mystery. Thanks for watching.
Yeah, super cray-cray. So the next one I want to share is about the Grand Canyon. You know, I'm obsessed, but yeah, I want to hear more about it.
Technology.
Why is it doing that? Go back.
Have you ever stopped to wonder about the mysteries that
Seriously? Oh, that's good. Grand Canyon.
may lie within the Grand
Yeah.
Canyon?
We're driving back from Yuma, Arizona, and I look up in the sky, Kind of hard to tell. There, that's it. What is that?
I mean, it's a beautiful place to look at, to take pictures, and to visit. But what if I told you that maybe there's much more to it than anyone would ever imagine?
It was an era of giants, dinosaurs, and bears.
And what if I told you that in the 1900s, a supposed archaeological find was published in the Arizona Gazette? An archaeological find that would shatter absolutely everything we know about humanity. And it was supposedly covered up, making it possibly one of the greatest cover-ups in human history. And if all of this isn't strange enough to make it even weirder, to this day no one knows exactly if it did happen or not. Well, today we're going to be taking a look at pictures, videos, and evidence that may actually support some of these archaeological finds. Are you guys ready?
Wow, that's just a bone, right?
That is a bone.
I mean,
That's a giant bone. That's no dinosaur. Impossible Channel.
Known as one of the most mysterious and beautiful places in the world, the Grand Canyon is visited by thousands of tourists every single day. It is one of the most studied landscapes in the world, with extensive fossil records and a multitude of geologic features and rich archaeological history. In 1908, President Roosevelt wanted to declare the Grand Canyon off limits to all timber and mining operations.
Well, yeah.
And feeling that this could be a final opportunity to explore minerals like gold, silver, and copper, explorer and researcher G.E. Kincaid took a boat down the Colorado River. He wanted to see if he could find something in the area before it was completely closed off to the public. So G.E. Kincaid and Professor S.A. Jordan, both explorers and supposed archaeologists working for the Smithsonian, set off the Colorado River to explore the Grand Canyon. About 42 miles upstream from the El Tovar Crystal Canyon and 2,000 feet up the canyon wall, G.E. Kincaid and S.A. Jordan spotted what appeared to be some sort of stairway that led to a huge cave. And at this point, they did what anyone searching for minerals and gold would do, and they went inside the cave. Now, this is where things take a turn, become really, really strange. According to Kincaid, the entrance to the cave was described as a tunnel-like passageway that was large enough to accommodate several people walking side by side. He also describes that 60 feet into the entrance you'll find branching off to the right and left of the cave a number of rooms the size of living rooms that have these oval-shaped entrances and ventilation systems. Little by little, Kincaid and S.A. Jordan started realizing that whatever it was that they found was possibly some sort of ancient underground city, just like the ones we see in Turkey and many other places throughout the world. But it doesn't stop there. They went even further, and they found what appeared to be some sort of cross hall, several hundred feet long, and sitting in the middle of it, some sort of huge statue that resembled a Buddha statue with a lotus flower in each hand. From now on, there are a couple of branches to this story, and one of them states that Kincaid and S.A. Jordan returned from their exploration to pass this information over to the Smithsonian to gather more men to actually explore this underground city, being that it was huge. Now, according to this article that was published in the 1900s by the Arizona Gazette, G.E. Kincaid and S.A. Jordan returned to the cave, now with an expedition backed up by the Smithsonian and financed by S.A. Jordan himself, they go deeper into the cave. And what they found would completely shatter absolutely everything we know about human history. According to the article itself, they found copper tools, including knives, spears, and other objects. They also found, carved into the cave walls, what looked like Egyptian hieroglyphs, which would make no sense, being that they were in the Grand Canyon, United States. There was also a perfectly polished granite stairway that led deeper into the cave, and it was perfectly smooth, as if it had been carved with some sort of advanced technology.
Oh my god, what is going on? Oh my god.
What the heck?
What is going on? Oh, it's coming apart.
So freaking crazy.
Oh my actual god.
And by going even deeper into the cave, this is most likely the reason, if the story is true, why it was covered up. Upon reaching one of the largest chambers, they found what looked like several holes on the walls that appeared to be slanting back at an angle of about 35 degrees. And inside these holes, they found what appeared to be giant humanoid mummies.
Giants. I didn't know that. I knew there was sarcophagi and stuff, but I didn't know there were giants.
Now, it's very important to state that this fantastic story may actually be just a hoax. However, it was indeed published by the Arizona Gazette in 1909 in two different articles. The first article was published on March 12, 1909 with the title G.E. Kincaid Reaches Yuma. And it was a short but interesting announcement that Kincaid was the only second person to make this boat trip down the entire course of the Colorado River. 24 days later, on April 5th, 1909, the newspaper ran a follow-up story to their first article, except that this time it was a full front-page coverage on the discoveries that G.E. Kincaid had made in the Grand Canyon. However, things take a very strange twist when you go over to the Smithsonian and try to call them to get more information on G.E. Kincaid and S.A. Jordan. Many people have done so after this article was published. I mean, you can imagine why. And the Smithsonian always says, very politely, that no, there is no record of Kincaid or any archaeological finding regarding an Egyptian cave of some sort in the Grand Canyon.
It's blocked
But
off
here's
now.
where things take a really strong turn and become stranger and even more mysterious than everything that I've told you until now. After researching a bit about the topic, I found a very interesting article in CNY Artifact Recovery, posted on January 2014, that states, S.A. Jordan was actually sent to the Grand Canyon by the Smithsonian to investigate the information that was reported by John Wesley Powell. So this would quickly explain all the confusion why G.E. Kincaid and S.A. Jordan are not listed under the Smithsonian. It's a dead end. And doing a quick research on John Wesley Powell, you'll find that Major John Wesley Powell was actually first director of the Bureau of American Ethnology at the Smithsonian from its founding in 1879. He was also in the U.S. Army and former director of the United States Geological Survey. But there's more. In 1870, he was the first American to lead an expedition throughout the Grand Canyon to scientifically investigate the Colorado River. So this man might actually have found something there that G.E. Kincaid and S.A. Jordan got interested in. Gold, minerals, or maybe something else. Not only that, the Hopi tribe has already talked about the possibility of their ancestors at some point in time living in an underground city in the Grand Canyon.
Which is the origin point. Our ancestors inhabited previous worlds before this one.
This cave was home to a race of people who would take anybody prisoner who enters the cave. And one such story, a native called Anzip, who was an elder of the tribe, told him of two maids who entered the cave and were never seen again. Finally, after many years, they emerged. And they told how they were taken into this beautiful world.
So the deeper we dig, the stranger it gets. But it gets even stranger if we start to analyze why there was a need to cover this story up. I would probably focus on two main points in this story.
The giants.
And one of them is
Egyptians.
the giant humanoid mummies and the Egyptian hieroglyphs and artifacts that were found inside the cave. They don't add up, but they would be a good reason to cover the story up entirely. For instance, the giant mummies. Either they were some sort of alien reptilian race of some sort, or they were indeed giant humanoid beings. And there is
I'm back. All right, let's continue this video. Sorry, Robot. Sorry, Truzido. Jeez, oh, Pete, this is insane. All right, so let me see. I have to redo the screen share. Thanks, Truzido. Like I was telling Robert on Facebook, I wish that we could afford CenturyLink. So maybe, like he said, start GoFundMe. I know GoFundMe takes a certain portion. Maybe Patreon, something to where instead of using CenturySync, we could actually use Starlink or something. But here we go. Ready?
Earth in a very distant past.
Outside of that, there's a whole realm of what I would call machine marks that exist all over these sites in Egypt. There's a place called Abu Sir that's been closed to the public for more than 100 years. You have to get special permission to go there. It's one of
Bien, nos encontramos aquí en Chiclayo, en el Paseo Yorduque, y lo que más llama la atención en este paseo, se habla del hombre reptil o el hombre iguana. Se habla que tuvo interacción con seres humanos. Era un ser que vivía debajo de la tierra y tenía muchos poderes.
And there is also evidence to support that at some point there were possibly giant humanoid beings living amongst us.
These are depicting ancient creation. Start with this scene, and we look at what we're looking at here. They're holding some type of structure with a snake inside. What is this now? We're taught that these beings represent the very ancient dynastic Commissions, so even though they're wearing dynastic headdress, the ancient Commissions are represented here. These are the dynastic people, smaller. They're just observing what was already here. Now, notice here nicely. This has been described first by Christopher Dunn as a Crookes tube, perhaps an electrical bulb. It seems to be working around. This is the Jed pillar, supposed to represent the backbone of Wizard of Osiris. But here, it looks like it's what somebody said, a condenser, because it's working with electricity. And again, we're not talking wireless electricity, because it is plugged in.
Yeah.
Plugged in. Now we switch to the other wall, and we look what's seen is over here again. And this is very important symbol. This is supposed to be ancient Commission. He's holding the bulb, but here, the snake is being deflected. We have a creature here. We don't know what this creature is, but the important thing is what the texts say. This is a warning. Warning that this is a power that can be abused.
But again, these are just theories, but I'm going to show you guys some of the videos that supports this evidence.
Don't you know, it's the Gaoud. Not the Gaoud.
Queridos amigos, muchas gracias a vosotros. Gracias.
What you're about to hear is real. My name is not too important. The information I'm about to tell you is extremely important. I was an intelligence specialist for the United States. Since then, if you watch my other videos, you realize that strange things have started to happen to my body. If you remember, my eye has started to get more of a slit or I guess snake eye appearance. If you look at my other videos or what I'm having right here, you can actually see up close what my eye looks like. If you remember, my body in certain areas, like for example, look at my elbows on both sides, I'm growing additional limbs. My hands, my thumbs, they're extending along too.
The thing is, throughout the years, people have been observing certain videos that show some of these shape-shifting humanoids. Sometimes it just doesn't make sense, and in other times, I would say that the videos are completely fake. But who knows? Maybe this was what Kincaid and S.A. Jordan had found inside that cave when they told about these giant mummies that they found. If this is the case, it would understandably be a very good reason to cover all this story up. Now, on another note, if this isn't the case about the reptilians and all that, it could actually be giant humanoid beings that were found inside the cave. There are certain videos out there that you'll find that may actually prove the existence of giants occupying Earth in a very distant past.
A spectacular example of how little we know about our human history and so many other areas of science that are part of the nature of our reality. very quick history about this footprint. It was first discovered in 1931 by a farmer or a guy around this area called Stoffel Coetzee.
Some of these footprints in Africa and Indonesia and other archaeological artifacts just scream out giant.
Inilah tapak Tuhan.
Coming right for us.
Alhamdulillah kami sudah sampai di tapak.
Also in 2017, ancient remains of 5,000-year-old giants were discovered in China. For instance, in this video posted by TessaTNT not very long ago, we can see what appears to be a giant humanoid figure inside of a cave in Mexico, in Cabo San Lucas.
So fucking crazy. There's still giants in so many different places, not just Mexico. In Iraq, there was a giant that killed a whole platoon, basically. Yeah, he's like, ain't gonna deal with these humans today.
At a certain point, I would say that some of these archaeological finds and giant footprints and whatnot may just be just coincidence. In other cases, it could actually represent some sort of evidence that maybe there were giant humanoids in a certain point in the past. Not to mention myths, stories, and legends from tribes and people all over the world who tell of encounters with these giant humanoid beings. Who knows if some of them are based on true stories, but it might actually explain what G.E. Kincaid and S.A. Jordan found that day on that cave.
Recently,
now, when it comes to the Egyptian artifacts and hieroglyphs, this is where things get really strange. In a quick search, you'll find that there are Egyptian hieroglyphs that were found spread out throughout the world in places they weren't supposed to exist.
Oh, is that Australia?
That's the case with the Australian Egyptian hieroglyphs that were found.
What?
Brian Forrester and many other explorers talk about these Australian Egyptian hieroglyphs.
Greetings from Australia. We're near Sydney, actually closer to a town called Gosford. Well, I find this absolutely amazing. And what's impressive is not only that it's been translated by Yusuf Awiyan and Mohammed Ibrahim, who are, again, Egyptian experts. So the idea that the lichen buildup and the fact that the surface is the same shade as the indentation means that this is of a significant age, I would guess much more than 100 years or something, made by somebody in the 1930s.
I know there's several people that are interested in Egyptians, any proof of Egyptians in Utah. It was told to me by, I'll just use first names, a friend of mine named Scott told me the story. He said up in Warren County, and they were deer hunting, went up Smith Creek, and deer hunting, and actually went over the top of the mountain. So they were coming down onto the Davis County side. They ran into some ruins in the brush, and it's just the rock foundation. Well, it was described to me as looking like a gravestone or a grave marker, a large one that was kind of heart-shaped on the top. This large rock in the middle of the building had Egyptian writing on it.
Now, when it comes to the Egyptian artifacts that were supposedly found by G. Kincaid and S.A. Jordan inside that cave, I can see a couple of reasons why it would have been covered up. For instance, what if some of these artifacts were of some sort of technology that they couldn't comprehend at the time?
That is not an airplane. Why the is it so close? What the actual is that?
Just to give an example, a couple of years ago, I featured several videos of what's supposed to be a mysterious Egyptian stone that has special powers or features that to this day no one knows exactly how to explain. For instance, it doesn't reflect on a mirror, it interferes with electronic devices, and it kind of boils water and reacts to water in strange ways. There's also a couple of magnetic anomalies that aren't quite easy to explain.
Hey.
Now, at first, if you read a bit about the topic and do some digging around, you'll find a couple of articles that state that most of these stones are actually fake and that these videos have the sole purpose of selling these stones on eBay and on the internet to make some easy money on people. And I don't doubt it. There are so many fake things nowadays being sold online that who knows? But even so, it doesn't explain how these videos are being made. It may just be that it's not simple CGI or special effects. It may actually be that someone has a hold of these stones. Not only that, in most videos, sometimes featured by different people all over the world, you see the stones presenting the same properties all over. So, I don't know. It could be the real deal. Whatever this thing is, it could be what Kincaid and S.A. Jordan found that day inside that cave. And it would be a really good reason to cover the whole thing up.
Right?
Not only that, it could explain how the Egyptians built the pyramids, the megaliths, and many other strange structures that to this day no one knows exactly how they were made. And to my surprise, a couple of months ago, I actually received a video from one of my subscribers of what's supposed to be an Egyptian pyramid that was found in the Grand Canyon through Google Earth. And this is the video.
Right there.
See?
Train off. Train on.
That's insane. What's in there?
Whatever it is that Koga NJA crew found, it really does look like a pyramid. If you take a look, it even has the layers that look like the Egyptian pyramids.
Yeah.
But I'm not too sure. It could be just a coincidence. Not only that, several researchers and books written about the Grand Canyon mystery state at some point how weird looking the Temple of Osiris is in the Grand Canyon. Not to mention that several caves and locations have been completely restricted to the general public for some reason.
Yeah, you can't go there.
So either the Kincaid story is one of the biggest hoaxes ever created by the Arizona Gazette, or it's one of the biggest cover-ups in human history. But I'll leave that up to you guys. What do you think about all of this?
I think it's insane. Yeah, it's super crazy and intense. Makes you rethink that whole Book of Mormon thing, huh? But no, like it's gone all the way from the Grand Canyon up to Ohio. Like there's been different things found. And like I was saying about the LDS church, the brass plates that the angel Moroni came to Joseph Smith about, I believe that was Egyptian too. I think, I don't know, they came across the ocean, but I'm not sure. What do you think? Let me know your thoughts. But yeah, for sure, explorers extraordinaire. So we do have to go to our first music break. On this break, we have Mr. Jeff Hilliard from Los Angeles, California, with Consensual Sex Fan, Cock That Hills, Finger Banger Day, Mullitude, as well as Silicone Wave. You guys don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after this music break.
Do you wanna go for a ride in my consensual sex band? Do you wanna go for a ride in my consensual sex band? Let me take you far away from all this huff and puff. There won't be nothing in between our love, like a pair of doves flying high above, where nothing can touch us, touching softly. Don't let me go, I won't let you go. This is eternity with me, baby. Do you wanna go for a ride in my consensual sex van? Do with magic, healthy laughter, boundaries, safe space, unknowing mutual consent, passion, happily will be buried our souls, naked by the sea, we'll breathe the clean air. We'll be living, laughing, loving forever. Baby, do you wanna go for a ride in the consensual sex fair? Do you wanna go for a ride in the consensual sex fair? You don't have to be alone anymore. We will be together forever in love. Do you wanna go for a ride? Do you wanna go in my consensual? Let's go. 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 Just get in the van. You want the cock that heals. You need the cock that heals. One way out, nothing to give in. I will be the one that can heal you. Dirty knees, desperate eyes. Fill the void you feel inside. Open wide, it's the fight for your life. You can get what you want and fill the hole inside. Open wide, it's the fight for your life. You'll be free if you can make it right. Make it right. Make it right. Make it right. You'll be free if you can make it right. The cock that heals. The cock that heals. You want the cock that heals. You need the cock that heals. You think you're something special. You think you've got it made. Think everybody wants you. Think you can get your way. No one really cares about you. Delusions start to fade. Your intentions are rejected. You know they always hide. Open wide, it's the fight for your life. You can get what you want and fill the hole inside. Open wide, it's the fight for your life. You'll be free if you can make it right. Make it right. Make it right. Make it right. You'll be free if you can make it right. Make it right. Make it right. Make it right. You'll be free if you can make it right.
You're nothing but an ungrateful, unworthy sinner. You're gonna burn it right there and I'm like a fire. What makes you think you deserve it? What makes you think you have earned it? I know you need it. Won't you kill for me? I know you want it. Won't you die for me? You got no choice, no way to conceal the only thing that makes you feel. I'm gonna go, the cock that heals. I'm gonna go, the cock that heals. You're desperate and pathetic, nothing but a coward. You're a fool with nothing to offer. No one will ever believe you. They see you for what you are. You're just a fraud, a shell of a person. And now the marvelous spirit of hatred, the demons that haunt you, they are carrying you into the night to help the hate. I am the
When your life is a never-ending train wreck, and you feel like you're drowning in a sea of regret, with a bit of oppression pressing down on your neck, it hurts so bad. When your overwhelming hatred kills your heart's desire, and reality starts looking like a dumpster fire, you start bitching to me, but you're preaching to the choir. You don't need to be so mad. 'Cause sometimes we hurt, sometimes we cry, sometimes we're sure there's no reason to try. When the whole world goes completely insane, open your heart, stand up and sing. I'm gonna finger bang my day. Yeah, yeah, I'll finger bang my day. That's right. You gotta make the choice to give it all you've got, and make your day moan with pleasure, really make it hot. Because your day deserves a lover that pulls out the stops. Come on, it's not so hard. 'Cause sometimes we hurt, sometimes we cry, sometimes we're sure there's no reason to try. When the whole world blows up in our face, what else could we do but stand up and say, I'm gonna finger bang my day. Yeah, yeah, finger bang my day.
Hey, what are we really doing? We can't live in a world that has this much hate. We have to get honest with ourselves. We have to take stock in what our part is in all of this madness. We have to let go, and we focus on giving love, setting that intention. And each and every single one of us gets up every day with the intention to give love. And we do it. We go out there and we give love every single day. Each one of us gets out there and makes love to our day, giving our day a multiple orgasm. The whole world will be orgasmic for the rest of eternity. Sometimes we hurt, sometimes we cry, sometimes we're sure there's no reason to try. When the whole world is fucking insane, we open our hearts, stand up and sing, I'm gonna finger bang my day. Finger bang my day. Finger bang my day. Let's open our hearts, stand up and sing, I'm gonna finger bang my day. Yeah, yeah. Finger bang my day.
Drop a can it, drip, 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 drop a can it, drip, drop a can it, drip.
I got all the moves, got that molar too. You think it's wrong? Back of the head too long. Fuck that. Check these molar moves. You need a molar too. I can do no wrong. Back of the head long, never gonna cut it.
All these hookers sweet on me. Look at them chasing me, showing me that ass. And I bang up the snatch. I do this shit for free. Cut down your mama till 3. She's taking selfies with the mullet like it's history.
How can I maneuver you with that pussy, dude? You sit like Buddha waiting on it to come to you.
My lines are straight to the point. She shows me gratitude. So what's your latitude?
Let's adjust your attitude.
Head for the alligator, double Billy Lamborghini.
All up in a skinny little yellow polka dot bikini. I got molar moves, I got that molar too. You think it's wrong? Back of the head too long. Fuck that.
Head for the alligator, double Billy Lamborghini.
All up in a skinny little yellow polka dot bikini. Check these molar moves. You need a molar too. I can do no wrong. Back of the head long, never gonna cut it.
Head for the alligator, double Billy Lamborghini.
All All up in a silly little yellow polka dot bikini.
You're like the butt of a butternut cutting up panini. So climb back in your kangaroo pouch like a rolling genie.
These moves are hot, these locks I got. This power cannot be disputed and it can't be bought.
So you can find me in the studio with all these thoughts. You wanna buy my style, but you can't do what you're not, neighbor.
I got more than moves, I got that molar too. You think it's wrong, back of the head too long. Fuck that, check these molar moves. You need a molar too. I can do no wrong, back of the head, I'm gonna cut it. Got that motherfucking ballin'.
You wanna touch it?
Yeah. Next time you come around here with your bitch ass, just remember how my mullet makes your hoes pussy drip, drip, drip.
I got molar moves, I got that molar too. You think it's wrong? Back of the head too long, fuck that. Check these molar moves, you need a molar too. I can do no wrong, never gonna cut it. I got molar moves, I got that molar too. You think it's wrong? Back of the head too long, fuck that. Check these molar moves, you need a molar too. I can do no wrong, never gonna cut it. Never gonna cut it. Never gonna cut it.
Drip, drip.
Roll them up. Roll them up. All up in a silly little yellow bucket. Never gonna cut it.
I just got a package, I can't wait to get home. I spent all day tracking the shipment on my phone, all that she was lacking. I ordered custom, I can't wait to get some. Take it to the bedroom, bitch is always nagging. Now I got the air, I said this bitch is packing. Going my way, I have a new attraction. Don't care what you say, it's better in every way. Now baby, it's time to play. We're gonna make us a tape and show everyone the way. Cause I'm going my way, riding up Silicon Way. I'm on the scene, I'm on the game. With my new real dog, I'm gonna play. Just second brain to my Silicon Way. Is here to stay. She's my new real dog, and it's time to play. She don't need expensive date nights. Never talks back, I'm always right. Stuff it in her face with all my might. She don't even care, we don't ever fight. She never cries when I'm testing the suspension. We blow it up like it's fucking Armageddon. We make the videos because this is perfection. Look at this erection, I don't need protection. Cause I'm going my way, riding up Silicon Way. I'm on the scene, I'm on the game. With my new real dog, I'm gonna play. Just second brain to my Silicon Way. She is here today. She's my new real dog, and it's time to play. With my new real dog, I'm gonna play. She's my new real dog, and it's time to play.
The woman of my dreams.
Voulez-vous coucher avec moi?
Fais-moi l'amour.
Je suis amoureux.
Je pense toujours.
Enchanté.
Tu es charmant.
Ma chérie. Mon
Tu es
chouette
charmant.
nasty. Is it touchy a little nipple?
Tu es chaud. Fais-moi
It's like living on a super yacht, making love to a robot. It's like owning a football team, but having sex with the Fucking a robot. She's burning me up, and it's time to play.
Right? You know, people in Japan are actually scared because their numbers are going down and these guys are like fucking a robot. It's Jeff Hilliard from Los Angeles, California. Make sure you tune into him. Check him out on YouTube. He's got some epic videos. He's been winning all kinds of awards, etc. It's pretty badass. What the heck is going on? No, I did not ask for this. Go away. Thank you. I'm glad you liked my version, Truzado. Let me change the volume on this background music. Leave it at a 7. So we shall continue the rest of our show with the world's 100 greatest mysteries, strange secrets of the past revealed. It's been pretty epic, I must say. Interlude on a lonely road. On the night of September 19th, 1961, Betty and Barney Hill were returning from a Canadian vacation to their home in Portsmouth, New Hampshire, when they spotted a strange light hovering over the dark woods along U.S. Route 3. Intrigued, they stopped the car to investigate. For several minutes, they watched the object, described as a glowing mass of Christmas decorations, as it moved erratically just above the dark tree line. It was big, Hill later told reporters, but it was so quiet as it hung there, like it was watching us or something. They finally drove on, convinced the strange object was a weather balloon or some kind of experimental aircraft. Still, they couldn't shake the eerie feeling that the thing was watching them as they drove. Every now and then, they'd stop to check on the moving soundless light. As they neared the White Mountains, the object, now appearing much larger, seemed to be moving parallel to their car. Kind of like when I used to have races with me when my dad was driving. Near Indian Head, it suddenly swooped down directly in front of them. "I've had enough of this," Hill told his wife. He stopped the car and hopped out, determined to find out once and for all what the thing was that was following him. "It was so big," that's what she said. "Oh, Robert." "I don't believe it," he shouted to his wife, who stood on the opposite side of the car but could not see the humanoid figures. "This is ridiculous." Hill later said the creatures were dressed in shiny black uniforms that looked like leather and wore caps with visors. You know, that sun is pretty hot. It's funny, I just changed the calendar over and it's a flaming-ass red sun. Kind of tells you how the summer is, and it's kind of predicted there in my calendar. He added they had red hair and round faces and moved with odd military precision. When the UFO descended to within 70 feet overhead, Hill dashed back to the car yelling, "Get inside! They're going to capture us!" They jumped into the car, locked the doors, and sped away. Hill remembers pressing his foot down on the gas pedal so hard his toes arched and ached. Several minutes later, they heard a strange beeping noise. It appeared to be coming from above the car. Hill was convinced the object was still following them. "Who are they?" Mrs. Hill shouted hysterically. "What do they want? What are they?" Suddenly, they both felt very drowsy. I'm feeling a bit sleepy. It was as if someone had switched off the lights inside our heads, Mrs. Hill later remarked. 2 hours later, the couple found themselves driving in the vicinity of Ashland, some 35 miles south of Indian Head. They drove home feeling puzzled and uneasy about the missing 2 hours. Where had they been? What happened to the strange object chasing them? The next day, they reported their experience to officials at Peace Air Force Base. A few days later, Mrs. Hill called the National Investigations Committee on Aerial Phenomenon, NICAP, in Washington, D.C. A special investigator was sent to document their story. In the days that followed, Mrs. Hill experienced recurring nightmares in which strange men dressed in matching uniforms and military caps would halt them in the middle of the road. Each time, the leader would assure the couple they would not be harmed. Then the Hills would be led aboard a disc-shaped craft and examined. Samples of hair, fingernails, and scrapings of skin would be taken from Mrs. Hill in addition to a long needle that was inserted into her navel. Afterward, the couple would be returned to their car and allowed to drive home. In the weeks following their ordeal, the Hills began to experience unbearable feelings of anxiety and dread. Eventually, they were put in touch with Benjamin Simon, a prominent Boston psychiatrist who specialized in treating personality disorders and amnesia through hypnotherapy. Starting in January 1964, Dr. Simon treated the Hills for 6 months. During this period, under time regression hypnosis, some amazing details were revealed about their experience. One of the most fascinating aspects of the case concerns a strange star map the leader showed Mrs. Hall when she asked him where he was from. The map was drawn by Mrs. Hill under a deep hypnotic suggestion. Years before, astronomers would discover a cluster of stars near 2 stars called Zeta Reticuli that is amazingly close in configuration to the map sketched by Mrs. Hill. What happened to the Hills on that dark night in 1961? Did they actually encounter a UFO? And were they taken aboard and examined by humanoid-like creatures from another world? Or, as is the opinion of Dr. Simon, was the couple's account of their abduction by UFO-nauts nothing more than fantasy? I don't think so. That's pretty ridiculous. Dr. Alan Hynek, an internationally respected scientist, former member of the Air Force's Project Blue Book, and head of NICAP at the time, thought otherwise. In published reports, he stated his belief that something extraordinary had happened to Betty and Barney Hill on that lonely New Hampshire road. So, I think this is one of the first most documented cases, and it's pretty intriguing to me. Pretty strange indeed. Hoaxes and outlandish claims. Mask of Agamemnon. I've gazed upon the face of Agamemnon. Hello, Lizzie, I miss you, bitch. German archaeologist Heinrich Schliemann wired a newspaper in November 1876. The lofty announcement came only days after the businessman had returned, and turned archaeologists claimed to have excavated one of the world's greatest archaeological treasures, a golden mask said to be a portrait of the mythological Mycenaean king who led a Greek army against Troy. Not Troy. Schliemann, whose discovery of ancient Troy 5 years earlier had made him an international celebrity, boasted to King George of Greece, "With great joy I announce to your majesty that I have discovered the tomb proclaimed to be the grave of Agamemnon." The mask, which he described as being in a perfect state of preservation, was one of several unearthed in shallow graves of Mycenae. Scholars held it as the most important, however, because it supposedly portrayed the likeness of the fated Bronze Age leaders. But was it real? For years, some classical historians have been troubled by a number of discrepancies associated with the find, as well as Schliemann's renowned penchant for dishonesty, exaggeration, and self-glorification. Look at me, look at me. Some experts have called the glittering artifact a fake, deliberately planted by Schliemann to boost his reputation and standing in the scientific community. Recent scholars suggest our critics might be right. 3 decades ago, William M. Calder III, professor of classics at the University of Illinois, and Urbana Champagne fired the first salvo in the debate when he questioned the veracity of several claims in Schliemann's autobiographical writings by Dr. Calder, an award-winning author and editor of numerous books in the 19th century, classical studies, and accused the German archaeologist of faking several important so-called discoveries, such as a bust of Cleopatra he claimed to have found in a trench at Alexandria in 1888. Most grating of all was Schliemann's bold assertion that he had found the ultimate archaeological treasure of all time, the masterful Mask of Agamemnon. "I've learned to doubt everything," Schliemann said, "unless there is independent confirmation," Dr. Calder said. Other scholars agree. Gunter Kopecky of New York University's Institute of Fine Arts insists that the mask is stylistically different from all others, and all other Mycenaean masks, right down to its distinctive eyebrows, ears, beard, and mustache. Dr. Kopke asserts that the mask is the work of an innovative and highly talented modern goldsmith. Why would Schliemann lie? Why would he do that? Scholars point to several reasons that might have motivated him to manufacture, bury, and excavate the mask. He wanted to close the excavations with a bang, noted one critic. He also desperately needed a Hirschbild, a portrait of a leader. The other masks he had found were not worthy of a great king. Critics of Schliemann have long contended that he often exaggerated accounts detailing his work in the field. They also say he deliberately lied about other aspects of his profession and personal life. Maybe he's slimy, says Robert. Could be. Slimy, stymie, I don't know. Damn you, stymie! Schliemann reportedly made bogus claims of heroic acts during the burning of San Francisco, lied that he had gained American citizenship on July 4th in the 1850s, misrepresented his wife Sophia as an enthusiastic archaeologist, faked the discovery of ancient Greek inscripts in his backyard, and lied about his unearthing of an enormous cache of gold and silver objects at Troy known as Priam's treasure. Once universally accepted as truth, art collectors, archaeologists, and ancient historians the world over now know that these and many of Schliemann's other accomplishments and claims fall short of the truth. Ernst Curtius, director of the excavations at Olympia and professor of ancient history at Berlin, called Schliemann a swindler and a con man. Get off my lawn! Anthony Snodgrass of Cambridge University called him profoundly dishonest. He's so dishonest, it's profound. Supporters, however, noted that Schliemann's work at Mycenae was carried out under the watchful eye of Panagius or Panagiotis Stamaticus, a respected scholar. They say it would have been possible for Schliemann to have faked discoveries under such scientific scrutiny. It's really hard to say. I don't know. Look down, man. In 1856, the fossilized remains of a prehistoric skull was unearthed in Germany, Neander Valley, heralding the possibility that human beings had been on Earth a lot longer than previously believed. And I believe that too, because down in Arizona you see dinosaur tracks and you also see human tracks. They actually did exist at the same time. For the next half century, as the great nations of Europe competed for political and economic dominance, the race was on to see who could find the next original man. Such a find would go far in establishing European primacy, the notion that humankind had originated in the Western world rather than in Asia, Africa, or some other dreary corner of the globe. The bombshell came 2 weeks before Christmas in 1912. 2 amateur archaeologists went before London's prestigious Geographical Society and announced that they had found the earliest man, a creature believed to be vastly older than Germany's Neanderthal man. Charles Lawson, a lawyer by trade, and author Arthur Smith Woodward, a geologist at the British Museum, said they had found Eoanthropus dawsoni in a shallow gravel pit near the village of Piltdown in the county of Sussex. First they called the creature Sussex Man, and then Don Man, before finally settling on Piltdown Man, the name that stuck. Newspapers around the world touted Piltdown Man was the greatest find in the history of mankind. Many saw the fossilized remains, which consisted of skull fragments, an unusually large jawbone, and several huge molars, as the most newsworthy event since Christopher Columbus's voyage to the New World. Let's talk about that. It also proved, as many Englishmen already knew, that mankind had originated in England. We already know that. Sorry, it was Africa. Excuse me. Which seemed important in an age of expanding nationalism. For years, scientists who follow the teachings of naturalist Charles Darwin had confidently predicted that a missing link would someday be found to connect modern man with primitive beasts. Now that the link had been found, history books would have to be rewritten. Just burn it. Just burn it. But there were some troubling questions. For example, skeptics wanted to know more about the precise location where the fossils were found. They were also unsure about the fossil's age and fretted that too many pieces were still missing to determine whether they actually belonged together. Other details were omitted and unclear. Hey, brother! Thank you so much. I'm glad it's not echoing for you tonight, because I hate a bad echo. Some came to see the whole thing as a sham. Particularly disturbing was the fact that the fossil pieces were kept securely locked in the British Museum and placed off limits to outside investigators. How could reputable scientists make a determination if they weren't allowed to see the specimen with their own eyes, touch it with their own hands? You better make sure you're wearing gloves, right? Because you don't want to degrade this piece of evidence. It wasn't until many years later, in the 1950s in fact, that modern technology proved the skeptics had been right all along. Using a newly discovered fluoride dating method, paleontologists and anatomists at the British Museum in Oxford University found compelling evidence that Piltdown Man was not nearly as old as claimed. In fact, they said, it was a fake. You fake. You phony. What the heck? Among the joining revelations, the jawbone was from modern orangutan. Some of the teeth had been filed flat to make them appear more human. As for the skull bones, chemical analysis indicated it was from a fairly modern human between $20 and... Okay, so it looked like $20, but it's 520 and 720 years old. Some of the bones had been stained with chemicals, others with ordinary paint, to make them look extremely old. On November 20th, 1953, Oxford paleontologist Joseph Wiener, and paleontologist Kenneth Oakley presented their findings to the Natural History Museum. The Piltdown Man was a most elaborate and carefully prepared hoax, they wrote. The faking of the mandible, aka jawbone, is so extraordinarily skillful, and the perpetration of the hoax appears to have been so entirely unscrupulous and inexplicable as to find no parallel in the history of paleontological discovery. The news was shocking. Piltdown Man hoax was exposed, announced the New York Times. Part of the skull of the Piltdown Man, one of the most famous fossil skulls in the world, has been declared a hoax by authorities at the British Natural History Museum. Thus ended more than 4 decades of rumors and uneasy speculation among the world's leading scientists. In the process, fortunes had been lost, reputations ruined, and careers cut short. Just call the History Channel. They'll make a show about it, right? But science and the search for truth suffered worst of all, as many people now viewed science as fallible and scientists as corrupt. I mean, okay, so the way they used to date dinosaur bones, now it's shown they're actually older than we thought in the first place. But you look at these scripts on pyramids and ancient Mayan buildings and stuff like that. Dinosaurs were still around when we were alive. We, meaning we humans, we existed together. You know, to me, it's pretty intense. The news was shocking. Piltdown Man hoax is exposed. Thus ended more than 4 decades of rumors and uneasy speculation. In the process, fortunes had been lost, but science and the search for truth suffered worst of all, as many people now viewed science as fallible and unscrupulous. How was it possible that so many scientists could have been duped for so long, and who was behind history's most elaborate hoax? All fingers pointed to Piltdown Man's original discoverers, Charles Dawson and Arthur Smith Woodward. Based on his reputation as one of British Museum's leading paleontologists, Woodward generally escaped blame, as did Father Pierre Delhart de Chardin, a French Jesuit who had assisted in excavation on several occasions. Dawson, on the other hand, he was an amateur, a mere lawyer, and therefore the prime suspect. Unfortunately, his death 37 years after the event meant he had taken whatever secrets he might have known about the caper to his grave. Other individuals have been proposed as hoaxers, either as a co-conspirator with Dawson or working on their own. These include Sir Grafton Elliot Smith, a neuroneconomist, Martin A.C. Hinton, a curator of zoology at the British Museum, W.J. Salas, a geologist, and Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. We know that guy. Famed mystery writer and creator of Sherlock Holmes. Many investigators are convinced that Doyle was the perpetrator. The writer lived only 7 miles away from the pit where the fossils were found and knew Dawson and Woodward. The most compelling evidence linked him to the hoax, and it can be found in one of his books, The Lost World, an adventure yarn about ancient men, prehistoric beasts that was published in 1912. According to some researchers, there are numerous passages and clues contained in the book that indicate he was behind the scheme. As far as motive goes, some have speculated that Doyle had a grudge against mainstream scientists as a whole because they frequently ridiculed his strong personal belief in spiritualism. The Piltdown hoax might have been his way of getting back at them. So yeah, he did a whole little hoax there. Anywho's, we are going to go to our second music break. On this break, we once again have Mr. Jeff Hilliard. He is amazing. like I said, go check him out on YouTube. He's got so many award-winning videos, and Consensual Sex Ban is one of my favorites, as well as Abandoned, which is coming up next. So on this break, we have Jeff Hilliard from Los Angeles, California with Abandoned. Then we have Miss Mia Savage, who is originally from the Phoenix area. Sometimes she lives here in Bayfield, but she's been trying to grow her little tiny wings. So she's getting her pilot's license in Phoenix right now. Thus, she is not here at the moment. It's so hot down there, I don't even see how she could stand it. But not a phase, your skeleton, the bottom line, and then we'll come back with Lumerian Crypto. You guys don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after this music break.
Left here alone, just a shadow of my erection on the wall. Why won't you answer my calls? I gave you my all with the love we made together all night long. I just don't know what went wrong. I rolled the dice, 'cause I thought I saw forever in your eyes. Was all that passion a lie? Just another fool you seduced and left behind. Heartless and cruel, you probably do this all the time, baby. I ain't no puppet dog. I believe in the power of love. One night here's not enough. How could you abandon our love? How could you abandon our love? Drove by your house again today. Peeked in the window and I saw you smiling. Met your husband and your beautiful family. Tell me, does he know about the way we made love on the night you met me? At Johnny's Tavern at 11:37 last Thursday. You said hello. Are you my Uber driver, baby? I said yeah. Then you asked if I wanted to party. I got an 8-ball from my friend Noel. We trauma bonded in a cheap motel. We laughed, we cried, we came multiple times. The sex blew my mind. I ain't no puppet dog. I believe in the power of love. One night is not enough. How could you abandon our love? You left me high and dry. You didn't even say goodbye. Now I screamed into the night. How could you abandon something that's so right? The way you touch me, the way you love me. Oh, how could you abandon our love? fooled again. Won't be fooled again by your skeleton. Won't be fooled again. I'm all alright. Never wanted to say it. Never wanted to show. Tell me it's another pain that I can see, but I'm never letting you know. Won't be fooled again. Won't be fooled again by your skeleton. Won't be fooled again. I'm all alright. It's not again that I'm bursting. It's not about what I've done. I don't wanna fade it anymore, but I handle it like nobody else. Won't be fooled again by your skeleton. I won't be fooled again. I'm alright. Angel on my shoulder. Devil in my bed. Forget my behavior. Didn't mean what I said. The bottom line is I'm torn and Turn into the butterfly. I'm torn into
To survive. But let's kill the big guys and try to town center and let the demons run around. But it doesn't matter, because it's just a ride, and we can change it anytime we want. It's all we need is a choice. No record, no work, no job, no savings in life. Just a choice right now between fear and love.
I'm torn and wild and control Just a choice right now between fear and love.
speak my language? Not if you know. Can you read my crypto? Take me to your leader or leave me alone. Somebody please take me home. Pain is no pain here. Pain, there is no pain here. Do you speak my language? Not if you know. Can you read my crypto? Take me to your leader or leave me alone. Somebody please take me out. Rest of time. Rest of time. Here. Do you speak my language? Not if you know. Can you read my crypto? Take me to your leader or leave me alone. Somebody please take me home. There is no time. There's no time. There's no time. Do you speak my language? Not if you know. Can you read my crypto? Take me to your leader or leave me alone. Somebody please take me home. Do you speak my language? Not if you know. Can you read my crypto? Take me to your leader or leave me alone. Somebody please take me home. Rest no time. There is no time.
Here we are in the third hour of videos and story time with me, TessaTNT. Thank you so much for hanging out. I almost said with us, but with me. Thank you, Truzido. #1 fan status. I tried to spell that and say that correctly, but it just didn't work out. Anyways, back to this book. The world's 100 greatest mysteries, strange secrets of the past rebuilt. This is by Randall Floyd, and he's an amazing writer, I must say. I've been really enjoying this. Kingston Stone! Speaking of Kingston, I was just watching a video about him earlier where he takes jewelries and jets and all this other stuff and doesn't pay for it. Come on, Sean Kingston. Anyways, it's kind of closely linked to the whole Egyptian thing. Kingston's death. Late one afternoon in 1908 or 1998, Olaf Alvman, a successful and respected Minnesota farmer, was pulling up tree stumps on his farm near Kingston, where he unearthed a strange stone buried at the base of a poplar tree. Intrigued, Alvman called his son over to help him pull the stone free and get it from its tangled roots and clean it off. Unable to read the strange chicken-like scratchings on the stone, in the face of the stone, they put it away in the barn and forgot about it until several years later, when they showed it to a Norwegian neighbor. The neighbor, Nils Flatten, got excited when he saw the inscriptions on the 200-pound chunk of gray sandstone. So excited, he took it to the downtown bank where several scholars were brought to examine it. When translated, the inscription described a bizarre but heroic tale about a band of Atlantic Ocean and continued westward across the New World to what is now Minnesota. Oh my gosh. Why are these different videos showing up here? This is so weird. Anyways. Okay, so, according to the inscription, several explorers were killed in a bloody confrontation with Indians in 1362. Written in the rules, the alphabetic characters of Northern Europe during the Middle Ages, the inscription appeared to be genuine. More specialists were called in the study of the huge block of stone, which measured about 3 feet long, 16 inches wide, and 6 inches deep. That's pretty deep. Having trouble streaming. What the heck? Why is all this stuff popping up? I think I have a creeper. Written in runes, the alphabetic characters of the Northern European during the Middle Ages, the inscription appeared to be genuine. More specialists were called to study the huge block of stone which measured what I just said. University of Minnesota historian O.J. Breda was one of the first scholars to examine the stone. He declared it a genuine artifact and published the first translation. 8 Swedes, aka Goths, and 22 Norwegians on an exploration journey from Finland westward. We had our camp by 2 rocky islets, 1 day's journey north of this stone. We were out fishing one day. When we came home, we found 10 men red with blood and dead. AVM, save us from evil. We have 10 men by the sea to look after ships, 14 days' journey from this island near 1362. Professor Breda and others who examined the stone saw it as a historic account of an amazing and true story of courage and survival in the New World by a band of plucky Scandinavians. Others weren't so sure about the relic. Most scholars who looked at the tombstones looked slab. They insisted that the relic was nothing more than a crude forgery. With the exception of a few alleged ruins scattered through the Midwest, there is no evidence the Vikings ever set foot in Minnesota. I'm telling you, they went up rivers. Just like the Egyptians went across, the United States. Professor Breda and others who examined the stone saw it as a historical account of amazing and true courage, and a survival story in the New World by a band of plucky Scandinavians. Others weren't so sure about the relic. Most scholars who looked at the tombstone-looking slab insisted that the relic looked nothing more than a crude forgery. With the exception of a few alleged ruins scattered throughout the Midwest, there is no evidence that the Viking ever set foot. But the controversy surrounding the so-called Kensington Stone evoked a rash of stories about Viking landings. And there is evidence that Scandinavians had preceded Christopher Columbus to America. I'm telling you, Christopher, he's just like, look what I did. He didn't really do that. Scholars now know that Viking explorers and settlers did reach the shores of North America, at least 5 centuries before Christopher Columbus's landfall on San Salvador. Only a few consider it possible that a band of Scandinavian explorers could have journeyed as far as Minnesota. As comforting as that thought might be to the many inhabitants of the state who trace their ancestry to Scandinavia, I'm telling you, like, they would land on the shores and then take their little tiny, paddle boats, aka canoes, and they'd go up the river and divide and conquer. Let's rape and pillage. With the Kensington Stone in possession, Holland sought of academia as he lobbied to prove that the Vikings had made it to Minnesota. And perhaps elsewhere in North America, in the 14th century, he claimed that there was an expedition led by Paul Knutson or Christianize the Vikings of the West, and that this story curtails with it the dates given on the stone. According to Holland, the Vikings' expedition led them through Hudson Bay, Lake Winnipeg, and up the Red River, a place near present-day Kensington, which is in Minnesota. It is his belief that the stone is a remnant of the Kensington or Knutson expedition. His campaign did get the attention of the Smithsonian Institution, which put the stone on exhibit during the 1940s. One museum director, in fact, held it as probably the most important archaeological object yet found in North America. Other experts disagree. Some continue to insist that the artifact was a fake and pressed for its removal from the museum. The uproar over the Kensington Stone did little to dampen Holland's spirit. Until his death in 1963, at the age of 90, he continued to champion its authenticity. The controversy over the stone did not end with Holland's death. Frederick J. Pohl, one of the more active supporters of the concept of Viking exploration in America, has continued to defend that the stone's integrity in several books, and as have other scholars. So it's not just him. There's others. So in 1982, the works, The Kensington Stone is Genuine, Robert Hall, a professor emeritus of linguistics at Cornell University, asserted that the stone is real. While the controversy continues, the Kensington Stone lies in a modest museum in Alexandria, Minnesota. Its secrets guarded by the local Chamber of Commerce. What the crick? How is this still not live? I don't get it. Anyways. Flat Earthers? You want to talk about it? Like here we go. Astronaut Neil Armstrong thrilled the world on July 20th, 1969, when he set foot on the dusty surface of the moon for the first time and proclaimed, "One small step for man, one giant leap for mankind." Not only was the historic lunar landing an inspiring technological achievement, it also laid aside a number of age-old myths about the shape and size of the Earth and its place in the solar system. Since ancient times, people had believed that the Earth was flat, not round. Or was it round and flat? I don't know. As Christopher Columbus and other 15th century explorers would later prove wrong. Even though the Greeks had assumed the world was spherical, many scholars ascertained that the North Pole lay in the center of the pancake-shaped plane. Another common assumption was that the Earth was stationary in space, and that the Sun and stars revolved around it. Since the Earth was home to gods and special creators, Adam and Eve, this made perfect biblical sense to so-called flat earthers who continue to deny the existence of a spherical world and even scoffed at the great voyages, claiming most were either elaborate hoaxes or out-and-out lies. Kind of like the moon landing, right? What the heck is really going on? Medieval thinkers point to the Bible to prove the theories about flat Earth. How could the holy books speak of the four corners of the Earth if the planet was a sphere without corners? Such thinking kept most ancient mariners close to the shore until fairly modern times, although a few explorers might have crossed the Atlantic before Columbus, the Vikings being one such group. Most never reached the terrible edge of the earth because of what stood in the way. Hungry sea serpents, monstrous whirlpools, vine-clogged seas, and boiling lakes of fire. Belief in a flat stationary earth did not die out, even after Ferdinand Magellan circumvented the globe in 1519 and failed to report any sea serpents, giant whirlpools, or tangled burning seas. Even today, while satellites hurtle around the planet and men walk in space, do they really? I don't know. I'm sorry, I'm trying to find my space. Charles Johnson of the United States, Neil Armstrong never actually walked on the moon. It's one big lie, Johnson explained. It's nothing more than a piece of clever stage-managed science fiction trickery. What about the pictures reputedly taken in space, showing the Earth to be rotating? A rotating sphere. Like, supposedly we're not up there taking pictures, but what about the pictures we see of the Earth in real time? Is that satellites? Is that what the heck is going on with that? They are just too ludicrous for words, explained Johnson, who believes that the sun circles the Earth instead of the Earth revolving around the sun, a notion that most people have taken for granted since the days of Copernicus. The society, whose membership is currently estimated to be about 2,000, dismisses much of accepted modern thinking about the shape of the Earth and sheer nonsense, and is convinced that the entire human race is being subjected to the greatest hoax in history. From its headquarters in Lancaster, California, the Society wages a non-stop war of words through newsletters and pamphlets against the evils of science. In the 1900s, there emerged another group of flat earthers who attracted international attention because of its offer to pay $5,000 to anyone who proved the Earth to be round. Led by charismatic, almost fanatical preacher named Wilbur Glenn Voliva, the group settled in Zion 3, a few miles north of Chicago, and founded a church to support its unorthodox doctrine. Rabidly fundamentalist, Volva ruled Zion with an iron hand. Under the guidance, the town was governed by a notorious set of blue laws. The town was governed by a notorious set of blue laws that would have made the Salem Puritans proud. For example, anyone caught smoking or wearing shorts on the streets could go to jail. Alcohol was banned, as was gambling, swearing, and whistling in public on Sunday. What? I was just whistling today. As the town's virtual dictator, Voliva proclaimed his own special belief that the Earth was shaped like a pancake, with the North Pole in the center and the South Pole distributed around the circumference. What kept ships from sailing off the edge of the Earth? A solid wall of ice? Voliva's flat earthers explained, pointing to icebergs. The self-styled preacher, who denounced other fundamentalists as liars, also believed stars were small, flat bodies, and not very far away. The moon, he said, was lighted from within. No, it's not. It's lit from the sun. Come on, people. Get with me. Damn it, Ron! Just tend to your Wheaties. He dismissed the notion of the sun's great distance from Earth by saying, the idea of a sun millions of miles in diameter and 91 million miles away is silly. On the contrary, he said, the sun was only 32 miles across, and not more than 3,000 miles from the Earth. What? Who are you again? Like, what the hell is going on? It stands to reason it must be so, he noted. God made the sun to light the earth, and therefore must have placed it close to the task it was designed to do. What would you think of a man who built a house in Zion and put a lamp to light in Kenosha, Wisconsin? Really doesn't make sense, does it? Even though Voliva frequently traveled, often making trips around the world himself, he never came to accept the existence of a spherical planet. A small, comfortable universe, familiarity, and what passes for common sense. These were and remain the hallmarks of the Flat Earth apparel. Cardiff Giant. Legends around the world speak of a long ago time when giants ruled the earth, a time before the Great Flood, when the sons of God came down from on high and walked among the mortals. They were giants on the earth in those days, the Bible says in Genesis 6:14. And also afterward, when the sons of God had relations with the daughters of men, who bore children to them. The ancients accepted these legends as fact. Gigantic warriors, offspring of the gods, were found in almost every culture, from the desert kingdoms of Egypt to Mesopotamia, and to the verdant hills of Greece and Rome. During the Middle Ages, the unearthed bones of prehistoric beasts were believed to be the bones of this vanished race of giants washed away in the deluge. By the middle of the 19th century, advances in new sciences like geology, paleontology, and archaeology had all but destroyed the old myths. They call it mythology, but pretty sure it's, ancient history. But the gods and giants of yore lived on in the hearts and minds of many people who continued to see every newly excavated dinosaur bone as evidence and gigantic beings once walked the earth. In the fall of 1869, newspapers were full of the latest findings of the naturalist Charles Darwin. People everywhere were talking about evolution and missing links. Some thought it was only a matter of time before some distant ancestor, a pre-flood giant perhaps, would be found. If you go to Death Valley, there was a guy that was walking around in Death Valley, fell through a thin scale of earth, and he found giant bones and artifacts. It was pretty intense. Gold. He brought one piece back with him, then he tried to make his way back, never found his way back again. Then, late one October afternoon, workmen digging a well on the outskirts of Cardiff, an obscure little village in the upstate New York, were startled when their shovels uncovered what appeared to be the mummified remains of a large human foot. Digging deeper, the workmen found that the enormous foot was attached to the body of an incredibly large man, measuring more than 10 feet tall and weighing nearly 3,000 pounds. What the heck? 10 feet tall. Okay, I know people that are 6 foot, 7 foot, whatever, but 1,000 freaking pounds? What the crack is going on here? Digging deeper. Okay, we already said that. Was it real? Was this the fossilized remains of an antediluvian giant? Antediluvian giant. As news spread, scientists, clergymen, and newspaper reporters came up first. Then thousands of curiosity seekers from across the region who paid 50 cents apiece to gaze upon the face of the gigantic corpse. William Stubb Newell, the farmer on whose land the giant had been found, was stunned by all the publicity and scientific curiosity. But he quickly took advantage of the hoopla and was soon making big bucks. Bring it on, baby! Among those who came to gawk were fundamentalist preachers and some scientists who were convinced the giant belonging to a long-forgotten race of men. Some called him the original man. One investigator so firmly believed the giant to be real, he announced that any man who declared it to be a hoax simply declared himself a fool. You fool, how dare you? Physicians who examined the creature also insisted the giant had once been a living human being. To prove his point, one physician drilled a hole in the giant's enormous skull and claimed that he was able to make the fascinating aspects of its anatomy. Professor James Drader of the New York State Museum, one of the most distinguished paleontologists of his time, said the specimen was the most remarkable object yet brought to light in this century. It's pretty intense. There's giant skeletons everywhere. The Smithsonian showed it, then they hid it. Why are you hiding stuff from us? Anyways, some observers called the find a fossil, while others thought it was an ancient statue. It took a famous New York sculptor, Aratus Dow Palmer, to finally break the news. The so-called Cardiff giant was a fake, nothing more than a big slab of carved gypsum. What? Anyways, instead of snuffing out interest in the giant, however, Palmer's revelation only created more excitement about the mysterious object nicknamed Goliath by the press. Even when Stubb Newell stepped forward and confessed to having made the whole thing up, business continued to boom, earning him and his partners more than $30,000. That's nice back in those days. By the end of the first week. That was only a week. The Cardiff giant was so popular, in fact, famed showman P.T. Barnum manufactured his own giant after Newell refused to sell it to him for $36,000. The Cardiff giant was actually the brainchild of Newell's cousin, New York cigar manufacturer George Hull. An avowed atheist, Hull had hatched the scheme for the sole purpose of getting even with a fundamentalist preacher with whom he had recently been arguing over the biblical origins of man. Hull decided to teach the preacher a lesson. He bought a large block of stone in Fort Dodge, Iowa, and then transported it to Chicago, where a crew of sculptors pledged to secrecy fashioned it into the likeness of a giant human being. To make it look authentic, he had hundreds of large darning needles inserted into a block of wood before the mention it all was saw all over the body to stimulate the pore of skin. Finally, after hosing the giant with sulfuric acid to make it look old, Hull loaded his creation into a bronze box and had it transported by train and wagon to Newell's farm, where it was buried by night to await the great moment of discovery. Everything went according to plan. Exactly 1 year later, workers hired by Newell and Hull discovered the oddity of digging a well. Although they made a fortune for their hoax, many reputations were ruined, including that of the preacher, who had accepted the giant on faith, and of numerous scientists who had staked their careers on its authenticity. And it was a forgery. The crack. In 1947, the Cardiff Giant was acquired by New York State Historical Association for $30,000 and placed at the Farmers Museum in Cooperstown, New York, where it is on public display. Fountain of Youth. I think we can get through this. Before the European conquest of America, Caribbean legends told of a wondrous kingdom far to the north where people could drink from a certain stream and live like young men forever. Could you imagine? That'd be awesome. The Fountain of Youth, as the stream was called, was supposedly located somewhere north of Cuba, in the mysterious land called Florida. So mysterious, there's so many quacky people here. Don't drink the water! Which could have been anywhere from modern-day Texas to Carolina coast. The legends were similar to dozens of old world stories about life-giving rivers, lakes, and streams that had been around since the dawn of time. In fact, some researchers suspect the Indian stories might have actually been based on versions they had heard from shipwrecked European mariners who, centuries earlier, had preceded Christopher Columbus to North America. Myths about magical fountains feature prominently in Icelandic literature, so could have been brought over by Viking explorers more than 1,000 years ago. These myths also matched Greek, Germanic, Roman, and even Hindu legends about life-giving waters, down to supposedly magical settings. The river of immortality offered eternal life for the Semites, and the pool of youth provided renewed vigor for the Hindus. Such realms went by a variety of names. The Land of Apples, King of the Fairies, Oberon, Morgan Le Fay, and the Land of Blessed, where old age and disease could be washed away by either bathing in or drinking special waters. I'm here pretty soon. I have about 20 minutes left. Okay. Go on.
Because Dad and Floyd are being big fat jerks.
I'm sorry.
Just because I looked under the cushion 3 times and didn't see the remote there.
Yeah, it gets lost pretty often.
And he looked under the cushion and he was like, "Oh wow,
Mm-hmm. Under probably where he was sleeping.
Then I yelled at him to stop, and Dad was just like, "He said he would do baby 10 instead."
What? Anyways, I'm sorry. That's not cool. In the late 14th century, Sir John Mandeville wrote that the Fountain of Youth was only 10 days' journey from where St. Thomas Church was to be found. And if one invited, he is who, aka cruel, of ale, weighs young. Some men kleppen, aka call, at the Well of Youth. And in 1530, Peter Martyr said, "There is an island about 315 leagues from Hispaniola, in which is a continual spring or running of water of such marvelous virtue that the water, therefore, being drunk, Perhaps with some diet maketh our men young again. Again. It's weird how they spell that. Instead of A-G-A-I-N, it's A-G-E-Y-N-E. The crack. News. New World explorer Rene Guérin de Le Bourgneer claimed that his scouts in Florida had talked with men who had drunk from the Fountain of Youth and were more than 2 centuries old. Can you believe that? More than 200 years old? What? Hold on. And even Edmund Burke, about 1770, is quoted as saying that such a pool would be a good investment. While many Spanish conquistadors must have heard these stories, only Don Ponce de Leon, the governor of Puerto Rico, apparently resolved to find the legendary fountain. In about 1512, the governor set sail to explore Florida and Bimini. His convoy, consisting of 2 caravels and no priests, sailed northward, finally making landfall near modern-day St. Augustine. He named the place Florida in honor of Pascal Florida and the Easter season. He found no fountain of youth, so turned southward again. Eventually, he passed the Florida Keys and worked his way up to the west coast, to Charlotte Harbor, on perhaps as far as the Appalachian or Apalachicola Bay. Had every stop he heard stories about the fountain, but they always pointed in another direction. On another island, these days journey by sail. Aging conquistador kept going, but in the end found nothing, no gold, no slaves, or fountain of youth. Disgruntled, he set his sights on the West Indies, hoping to find Bimini, where some accounts placed the magical fountain. After a full decade of searching, Ponce de Leon finally gave up on his quest and went back home. Don't be a quitter.
Yeah.
Don't do it. Yeah, I give up. I'm just gonna go back home.
Yeah.
Much of what we know about his voyage is based on accounts provided by Antoine de Herrera, a highly imaginative Spanish historian of unreliable integrity. Are they saying she's a liar? Unreliable integrity? Some say Herrera made up the whole thing in order to make his writings more dramatic, thus enhancing his own reputation. Some scholars say Ponce de Leon probably had never even heard of a fountain of youth, let alone make it the focus of a decade-long search through the wilds of Florida and the Caribbean. They say the enterprising conquistador was probably doing what everybody else was doing, looking for gold and slaves. Jeez. Herrera reported he had come across a fanciful Indian story about a mysterious stream of water located somewhere north of Cuba, that supposedly had the power to restore youth. Indians who drank or bathed in these waters were said to live hundreds of years. According to Herrera, the governor had heard about the legend and from various tribes of the Caribbean Indians and decided to investigate. One tribe, the Arawaks, is said to have migrated from Cuba northward because of a magical river, where life-giving waters flow pure and plenty. It's probably hidden in Disney World.
Yeah.
Yeah. Probably where it's at.
Yeah. It's a whole hidden ride in Disney.
Yeah, there's a whole hidden place where people go and eat. It's like Club 33 or something. Anyways, it's a romantic tale, one that has endured for centuries. Books, plays, motives, and documentaries have been made on the subject, making the Fountain of Youth one of the most popular legends of all time. Yet, researchers, mindful of what Herrera had said, and his zealous pen say there's nothing in the pages of Ponce de Leon's original patent from Emperor Charles V to suggest anything but a business-like expedition to explore and perhaps colonize Florida. Nor are there indications from subsequent records to suggest he had the slightest notion about the curious fountain that would follow his name through the ages. Where was the fabled fountain? Some historians place it near Silver Springs in northern Florida, while others point to Georgia, in the vicinity of Okefenokee Swamp, perhaps, or Alabama. So, others claim it is on the island of Guanahani, San Salvador, or the island of Bimini. Let's go to Bimini, that sounds fun.
Yeah.
In the event such a wondrous stream ever existed, one could rightfully suspect that it is no longer there, drained away perhaps, or bulldozed over to make room for another parking lot or a theme park. Told you, Mickey Mouse, dude! Mickey Mouse! Yeah, Mickey's got it under wraps. That's why he's still alive. You know, he started in the early 1900s, but that mouse is still alive. Can you believe it?
Yeah.
I think it's because he is bathing in the fountain of youth. Yeah, it's hard to say, hard to tell. What?
In a whole hidden, ride, a Donald Duck ride.
Oh, yeah?
Because it would, go under the duck pond.
Mm-hmm.
But they closed it down forever because a lot of kids used to go missing.
And the original child trafficking. Don't stick your toes in there.
And they thought it was one of the employees, but they couldn't tell which one.
No, I think they did eventually catch somebody, which was a pedophile. Pedo. But even the gloves. So the gloves that Mickey Mouse and Donald Duck and everybody wears, there's those 3 lines. Guess what? Those 3 lines add up to the Illuminati. What do you think about that? What do you think about Mickey Mouse? Did you know they also cover up deaths that have happened in the park? Yeah, what the heck is wrong with these people?
It was the most busy theme park ever, near when they started doing the costumes and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the employees killed a child, and there was blood on the gloves, and they just stuffed it in the storage closet because they couldn't everyone was busy with everyone else.
So there was a bloody mess.
Yeah, just stuffed in the storage closet.
What the crack? That is so weird. I don't get it.
I neither.
And they say it's the happiest place on earth. Was that your thought? Because I thought, personally, it's the most miserable place on earth. Why would you want to go there?
Yeah.
So we could go to Florida or Disney World. But you know what I'd much rather do? I want to go to Universal Studios and do the whole Jaws, and then chasing that little orb through Harry Potter world. Wouldn't that be cool?
Yeah.
Way better than some fucking weird ass mouse. Remember when we chased down Minnie Mouse? She wouldn't even take a picture with us. She wouldn't even say hi. I'm being controlled by my handler.
I was like you grave, please.
Yeah, please have your own grave. No, but seriously, guys, it is the most horrific place on earth.
Yeah.
Alright, so I'm looking over here at Spreaker, and even though there's 4 minutes until the top of the hour, we have 12 minutes and 20 seconds. Enduring Mysteries. Search for Noah's Ark. In the summer of 1916, Lieutenant Vladimir Moskovitsky, a Russian pilot, was flying over the mountains in northern Turkey when he spotted what appeared to be the weathered remains of a huge ship half buried on the upper slopes of Mount Ararat. Intrigued, he sent a detailed report to Tsar Nicholas, along with maps, drawings, and charts. Within days, a research team was dispatched to the region to investigate what may be thought to be the remains of Noah's Ark. I'm looking for this forever. Noah's Ark. Okay, so when the earth was flooded, Noah took himself, and I think his bride, he really doesn't talk about her, but like many of his daughters and then 2 of every animal onto the ark. And then they floated on the ocean forever and then they landed somewhere.
Yeah.
Pretty intriguing, huh? Researchers dug, drew pictures, photographed artifacts, and wrote numerous essays. Newspapers in Moscow and London called it the greatest discovery in the history of mankind. Unfortunately, the report was lost during the Russian Revolution. Some scientists who saw the report before its disappearance were convinced they had seen the real thing, evidence that the ark had existed, just as it was described in the book of Genesis. Rumors about the ark's existence have circulated since the 3rd century, when Greek writers said it was common knowledge that the ark could still be viewed on Mount Ararat. Descriptions of the vessel usually match those given by Genesis. A barge-like wooden ship, 450 feet long, 75 feet wide, and 45 feet high, with 3 interior decks capable of holding as many as 75,000 animals. That's a lot. I'm just really sad the unicorns didn't get on there, but I think they still exist. According to the Bible, because unicorns were like, "Don't bother me, human. I'm gonna stay here and eat my grass." Nay.
I don't know where you are right now.
No, Ararat. Probably designated by the region, the ancient kingdom of Urartu, or Aratu, and not a specific mountain peak. The story of Noah and his ark is similar to dozens of other told around the world since prehistoric times. Nearly every major culture, in fact, includes a variation on the basic plot. Ancient flood destroys the earth, sparing only a selected few. The biblical account is the most famous. So many different religions talk about the flood.
Mm-hmm. Like it's on the Bible app.
It is?
Yeah.
Genesis tells how God saw the wickedness of man, and it was great, and sent a great deluge to purge his creation. It seems likely that the Genesis story was based on an even older story, that of Babylonian king Gilgamesh, who met Utnapishtim, survivor of a great flood sent by the gods. Ancient Greeks and Romans had their own flood legends, as did the Irish, whose queen Cessair sailed for 7 years to avoid drowning when the oceans overwhelmed Ireland. European explorers in the New World were startled by Indian legends that sounded similar to the story of Noah. Spanish priests feared the devil had planted such stories in the Indians' minds to confuse them. We must confuse these Indians, okay? Okay. Many scholars see a common thread running through most of these old stories, based on some actual terrifying occurrences. Columbia University geologists William Bryan and Walter Pittman theorized that the melting glaciers at the end of the last ice age caused major flooding in the eastern Mediterranean, drowning vast records and forming the basis for the old legends. While many experts put the location of Noah's Ark elsewhere, the majority believe the big boat came to rest on Ararat. Most believe it was buried in a glacial ice midway up the mountain, about 10,000 feet, when forgotten about until the 20th century, when aerial photos and drawings such as those made by Lieutenant Ruskavitsky and others revealed its image on film. Acting on those claims, dozens of expeditions have been launched this century, mostly by Christian groups eager to find evidence to support the biblical theory. Guess what? Right now, and like you guys saw in the first hour, Grand Canyon, Egyptians, Book of Mormon, all this stuff. Dude, it all links together. It all makes sense. To me, it's amazing. Not only have there been artifacts, but those copper plates, the angel Moroni, was he an angel or was he an alien?
He was an angel.
He was an angel. I wonder. But yeah, he was pretty buzzed. Anyways, acting on those claims, dozens of expeditions have been launched this century, mostly by Christian groups. In the early 1950s, American oil engineer George Jefferson Green supposedly took photos of a ship-like shape, half submerged in a gully in Ararat.
What is it called?
I don't know. What is it called? Ararat. Ararat. Weird. Ararat. Green was mysteriously murdered in 1962. However, photos disappeared. Here come the men in black. Gonna take your photos. The most publicized investigation features an extraordinary ship-shaped object of impressive size discovered not on Ararat, but on a nearby range and immediately below the mountain of Al-Judi. First reported in the late 1950s during an aerial survey by the Turkish Air Force, the object was the focus of several expeditions in the 1980s and 1990s. I remember when I was a kid and I'm watching Unsolved Mysteries and they're talking about Noah's Ark and I'm like, yes, they finally found it.
Mom, did you expose something out there? Why is it glowing?
That's the charger.
Also,
Anyways, participants including American shipwreck specialist David Fessold and archaeological researcher Vandil Jones, who would go on to seek the Ark of the Covenant. Resembling a ship's hull bounded by a raised bridge, this eye-catching enigma's dimensions correspond fairly well with those given for Noah's Ark in Genesis. Fassold argues that the Ark has become fossilized, kind of like petrified wood, wouldn't you say? Geologists counter that it is just a syncline, an oddly shaped outfit of the earth. It has even been suggested that the structure might have been inspired by the story of Noah's Ark. Yes, we're going to build this whole structure from this cliff because I heard the story of Noah's Ark.
Mom.
A thought-provoking reversal of traditional concepts. We're almost done with the show. In the meantime, however, Fassold and a team of Turkish scientists continue to study Al-Judi's ark-shaped anomaly in the hope of confirming that one of the Bible's greatest wonders is more than just a myth.
Mom.
What?
So, you should, instead of putting it all the way down there, you should bring it up and hook it, like, right there.
No, that's where I usually put my cords. But anyways, dude, what do you think about that? I saw on Unsolved Mysteries where they're like, we finally found Noah's Ark. And you would think it'd be petrified wood because so much stuff has happened, but it's hard to say. And so many different people and legends have claimed that Noah's Ark has been found. I'm not quite sure about that, but...
Also, Mom? Like, these people were out scuba diving.
Mm-hmm.
And, they saw, like, this giant shark, like, megalodon-sized.
Dude, yeah.
It was like...
Because the ocean is so large and so immense, we've only discovered, 20% of it or less?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure megalodons still exist. I do believe in the Loch Ness Monster, Old Nessie. Yeah. I believe in Bigfoot. I believe in aliens. We've all seen spirits.
trust me.
Yeah. She's like, trust me. I've seen it too. But anyways, you guys, we gotta do the outro song. Ready?
What's the outro song?
You can't hear it?
No, I can't.
Thank you so much for joining me this evening on We Are Paradox Media's Late Night Rockies. We did video time for the first hour, which I'm really enjoying that. Let me know if you enjoy it too, because I really like it. I love watching paranormal videos. And then we finished that off with The World's 100 Greatest Mysteries, Strange Secrets of the Past Revealed by Randall Floyd. Kind of given up on Reddit ghost stories. It's just been so bad, so corny, so I don't even go in there anymore. But thank you guys so much for joining me tonight on We Are Paradox Media's Late Night in the Rockies. I hope you tune in next weekend. It's story time with me, TessaTNT. Then we have Mr. Steve V. Ubaidi. We're going to be talking about the mysterious death of Lisa Marie Presley, as well as different other things. Could be the shooting of JFK, or man, there's so much stuff going on in our Omniverse right now. It's pretty intense. Thank you again for tuning in with us. Love you. Night night, love night. Take care of my yous. Take care of each other. Let's raise each other up out of this place we call Earth.